Hey everybody, we are moving to the next of our religions, and that is the Roman religion. So here we go. Um, as far as the Romans had a religion of their own, it wasn't really based on any kind of central belief, but kind of a mixture of fragmented rituals, superstitions, traditions that they collected from a whole bunch of sources. Religion was very, very contractual, right? If you're the god, I'm going to make some kind of temple to you, and you will go ahead and you will give me stuff or make sure I am successful in war. And that's kind of how that worked. There was very little spirituality. It was more of a contract. Um, and of course, their religion is part of everyday life because that's how it is. It's a cultural religion. Now, the Roman temples. Everybody would appeal to the gods to help them with their problems. Again, transactionally, religion and politics overlapped. Priests were kind of subgroup of the political elite. Their function was to offer advice. It wasn't priests who really provided the link to the divine, but members of the Senate and council, and eventually, during the reign of Augustus, he used religion to strengthen his own regime. And after a period of a lot of political upheaval, he founded the Temple of Apollo, the god of peace, civilization, and he started the Pax Romana, and that kind of calmed everything down. So that was good. Let's see. Borrowing from the Greeks, the biggest borrow from another culture, of course, is the Greeks, and most of them are borrowed from the Greeks. So that's why we won't really have a whole lot to do with the Roman religion because we've covered most of who they are, right? And many of them got the names of the planets, Jupiter, Neptune, Saturn, Venus, Pluto, Mars. They're all here, and they're all part of, and you can see there what their Greek counterparts had been. There were some that were unique, like Janus. Um, this is the two-faced god, the creator of entrances. And since he presides over beginnings, he had to be worshipped first in all the religious ceremonies. And they also made him the god of omens. The Romans believed in omens and tried to figure out the future. Um, Janus was the door between heaven and earth. So there's that. Now the emperors. Since it was assumed, put my over here with Nero, since it was assumed that nothing could be achieved without divine aid, Romans obviously had to be connected to God, um, referred to as the Son of God, these emperors. It was a title of honor, and most of them were declared to be sons of God after they died. But some, like Caligula and Domitian, they actually claimed to be gods while they were still alive. This obviously caused some trouble, right? Because how do you disagree with somebody who literally would be a god? Um, they put their faces on the coins, kind of as a unifying force, but it also to establish their power. Um, so that's another little point. Um, Household religions. In more private side of religion, most Roman houses, even workshops, had their own little shrines, statues of ancestors and household gods. Leres were spirits of the farmland associated with the ancestors. And let's see, and they had, you would always have a shrine to them. Penates were guardians of spirits on the family hearth, and this was in conjunction with Vesta. And these were the goddesses of the private and public hearth. In public arena, um, Vesta's hearth was tended by Vestal virgins, and they were taken as young kids who were virgins, and these women, and they had to remain strictly chaste during their period of office till they got to their maybe mid 20s, and they were very powerful. You walk through the Roman Forum, and if the Vestal virgins were walking by and you needed them to speak on your behalf, even if you were a criminal, if they felt like taking your case, they could get you off, so that get you out of jail. So that's pretty powerful for these groups of virgins. All right, some of the history, particularly some of the mythological history. Romulus and Remus, these are twins that were born of a princess and they were abandoned soon after they were born near the Tiber, and they were rescued and suckled by a she-wolf. And once they grew, they decided to build a city on the place where the wolf had found them, that being right there on the Tiber. That's where we have Rome. Now, both men wanted them to name the city after them, but they couldn't decide which would make a better ruler, and they fought a great battle, and Romulus kills Remus, and so therefore the city is called Rome after Romulus. Um, Other mystery cults were a lot of cults, like personal things that you could get into, like local religions that you could go ahead um, and like connect to. Mithraism was popular with the army. Mithras was a protector god of soldiers. There were like multiple levels of initiation, so soldiers were into that. There was huge. This was huge in the second century. Um, Now Mithras was born out of a rock and slayed a bull with his bare hands. So Roman soldiers, if they were an initiate, were trying to slay a bull, and that would make them kind of immortal in the eyes of the of fellow soldiers. Other things, there were cults for the god Bacchus. This was orgiastic in nature, so like you all got together with a bunch of people, and there was a huge orgy, and you're drinking wine, and you're probably doing drugs. So there were a bunch of different mystery cults that were of that nature, where there was just um, a lot of sex and drugs and stuff like that. Also, a lot of cults that reached back to the Egyptian religions, mainly Isis and Osiris. So that is now the last one that I've got here, just to kind of finish up Rome, is the poet Virgil. I wanted to make a mention of. He gave some of the most important stories of Roman mythology. The Aeneid is where you have the god or the hero Aeneas, and he goes and has a great adventure, kind of in the sense of um, Odysseus and the story of the Odyssey, kind of like that. He also is responsible for the story of Romulus and Remus, and he also went out of his way to show how Rome's early leaders had divine ancestry, linking later emperors with the gods. And you're kind of wondering, like, well, what? This guy seems like he's a smart guy. Why would he fall for all that stuff where these emperors are are gods? And it's partly because he was on the royal payroll. He was getting paid to do that, and so he was taking the money. So that is Rome, and I kept it short and sweet. So I hope it went well for you. All right.